Captain Jake Morrison walked through the shiny halls of the Galactic Council building on Nexus Prime Station. His black uniform was perfectly clean, and his boots made soft sounds on the smooth floor. He had been doing this walk for 3 years. Now, always careful to bow to the right aliens at the right time. Always smiling, always being polite. The humans were still new here. Earth had only joined the galaxy 3 years ago, and everyone told them they needed to be extra nice to fit in. The other alien races had been traveling space for thousands of years. They knew everything. Humans knew almost nothing. Jake stopped outside the big meeting room doors. Through the clear walls, he could see all the different aliens sitting in their special chairs. The Zephyrians looked like walking crystals that sparkled in the light. The Ethereals were like colored smoke that moved and talked. The Verdani looked like giant trees with faces. The Klaxon looked like huge bugs with big jaws that made clicking sounds. Ambassador Lisa Carter was already inside, sitting at the small human table in the back corner. She was the best diplomat Earth had ever made. She could smile for hours, even when the aliens said mean things about humans. She could find ways to make everyone happy, even when they asked for impossible things. Jake walked into the room and stood behind Lisa's chair. The meeting was about to start, and he knew it would be another long day of listening to complaints about humans. The problem today was about a human ship called New Hope. It had broken down near a planet called Kepler 442b. The ship was full of families trying to start a new colony somewhere else. But their engines stopped working, and they had to land on the planet to fix them. The bad news was that 2 different alien groups both said the planet belonged to them. The Klaxon bugs said it was their land because they needed it for making more bugs. The Crystal Zephyrians said it was their holy place, where they went to think quiet thoughts. The humans just wanted to fix their ship and leave. But they had been stuck there for 3 months while the aliens argued about who owned the planet. Council Speaker Thexver stood up. He was the biggest Klaxon bug in the room, and when he talked, his jaw pieces made loud clicking sounds. The humans are still on our land. They were not invited. They must leave now. Lisa stood up slowly. She put on her biggest, nicest smile. Dear Speaker Thexver, we understand why the Klaxon people are worried. But our ship has 300 people on it. Many of them are children and old people who are too sick to travel in space right now. We just need a little more time to make sure everyone is healthy enough for the trip. Jake had heard Lisa give this same speech 20 times before. She was always so patient, always so kind. Even when the aliens treated humans like annoying pets, she never got angry. Quarian, the main Zephyrian crystal person, started making musical sounds that meant he was unhappy. The humans say they will leave soon, but their ship grows deeper roots every day. They have built play areas for their young ones right on top of our sacred crystal gardens. Every day they stay, they make our holy places dirty. Lisa nodded like she really understood. We are very sorry about that, Quarian. What if we work together? Our rock scientists could work with your crystal singers. We could make sure we do not hurt any important places while we fix our ship. This was always how it went. The aliens would complain, and Lisa would find a way to make them happy. She would promise to be extra careful, or extra quiet, or extra fast. She would offer to help them with their problems too. She never said no. The other aliens in the room watched this happen like it was a boring show they had seen many times. They knew humans would always give in. They knew humans would always try to make everyone else happy, even if it made humans unhappy. Jake looked around the room and saw how the aliens looked at Lisa. They did not respect her. They thought she was weak because she was always so nice. They thought humans were easy to push around because humans never pushed back. But Jake knew something the aliens did not know. He had been a soldier before he became a diplomat's helper. He knew that back on Earth, there were big ships with big guns. He knew there were millions of human soldiers who were very good at fighting. He knew that humans only acted nice because they chose to act nice. The aliens thought human politeness meant humans were scared. They were wrong. After 2 hours of talking, the meeting ended the same way all the meetings ended. The aliens agreed to think about the human problem some more. They would meet again next week to talk about it again. Meanwhile, the 300 humans on New Hope would stay stuck on the planet, getting sicker and more worried every day. Lisa packed up her papers and smiled at everyone as they left. But Jake could see the tired lines around her eyes. He could see how her hands shook just a little bit when she thought no one was looking. Another successful day of diplomacy, Lisa said quietly as they walked back to their ship. Jake did not answer right away. He was thinking about the families on New Hope. He was thinking about the children who needed medicine. He was thinking about the old people who might die if they had to travel in space before they were ready. "Lisa," he said finally, "how long? Do we keep doing this?" She looked at him with surprise. "What do you mean?" "I mean, how long do we keep smiling while they treat us like garbage? How long do we keep saying please and thank you while our people suffer?" Lisa stopped walking. She looked around to make sure no aliens could hear them. "Jake, we are new here. We have to prove that we can be trusted. We have to show them that humans are peaceful and reasonable. But what if being peaceful and reasonable does not work? What if they never respect us no matter how nice we are?" Lisa did not have a good answer for that question. She had built her whole career on the idea that kindness and patience would win in the end. She believed that if humans just tried hard enough to be good neighbors, the aliens would eventually treat them as equals. But after 3 years, the aliens still treated humans like annoying children who needed to be managed and controlled. That night, Jake sent a private message to his old friend Ryan Bell, who was now the captain of a human destroyer ship called Vigilant. The message was short: "How are things in your part of space?" Ryan's answer came back quickly: "Quiet for now." But the crew is getting angry about what they hear on the news. People are asking when we stop being nice and start being strong. Jake read the message 3 times before deleting it. He knew that many humans felt the same way. They were proud of their diplomats for trying so hard to keep peace. But they were also frustrated that being nice did not seem to be working. The aliens kept pushing, and humans kept giving ground. Everyone said this was the smart thing to do. Everyone said humans needed to prove themselves before they could be treated fairly. But Jake was starting to wonder if the aliens would ever think humans had proved themselves enough. Maybe the aliens liked having someone they could push around. Maybe they did not want humans to be equals. As Jake fell asleep that night, he thought about the 300 people on New Hope. He thought about the sick children and worried parents. He thought about how much longer they would have to suffer while aliens argued about rocks and bugs. He did not know it yet, but things were about to change. The galaxy was about to learn that human courtesy had limits, and they were getting very close to finding out what happened when those limits were reached. 3 weeks after the last council meeting, Ambassador Lisa Carter was sitting in her small office on the human ship Friendship. She was reading reports and trying to stay calm, but her hands were shaking. The communication screen on her desk was flashing with an urgent message from Kepler-442b. She pressed the button to answer, and Paul Jensen's face appeared on the screen. Paul was the leader of the colony on New Hope. He looked tired and angry in a way that scared Lisa. Paul was usually calm and patient, just like all the best human leaders. "Lisa, we have a big problem," Paul said without saying hello first. His voice was hard and cold. "The Klaxon bugs sent a war group to our ship. They said they wanted to inspect our medical rooms to make sure we were not hiding weapons." Lisa felt her stomach twist into knots. What happened? Did anyone get hurt? "They broke our medicine machines. 2 weeks' worth of medicine for the sick. People gone. They also put poison in our water cleaning system. We have sick kids and old people who might die now because of what they did." Lisa closed her eyes and tried to think. This was worse than anything that had happened before. The aliens had been rude and demanding, but they had never actually hurt humans before. What about the Zephyrian peacekeepers? They are supposed to protect everyone in the disputed area. Paul made a bitter laughing sound. The crystal people decided that our children's playground was built on top of some small crystals they suddenly remembered were holy. They want us to move the playground to the middle of the acid swamps. When we told them that would poison the children, they said we should just leave faster. For the first time in her long career as a diplomat, Lisa felt something break inside her chest. She had spent 3 years being patient and kind and understanding. She had smiled when aliens insulted humans. She had apologized when humans had done nothing wrong. She had made promise after promise to try to make everyone happy. But now children were going to die because she had been too nice. Paul, I need you to write down everything that happened. Every law they broke, every rule they ignored, every time they hurt our people. I need proof of what they did. Already done, Paul said, and sent her a big file of information. Lisa, there is something else. Commander Ryan Bell from the destroyer Vigilant wants permission to fly his ship through this area during his regular patrol. His crew is very angry about what is happening to our people here. Lisa understood what Paul was really saying. Ryan and his crew wanted to come help. They wanted to show the aliens that humans had big ships with big guns too. They were tired of watching human families suffer while aliens played games with their lives. Tell Ryan to stick to his normal patrol routes. We are not ready for that yet. But even as she said the words, Lisa knew that not ready yet was getting closer to ready now every day. After Paul ended the call, Lisa sat alone in her office for a long time. She looked at the pictures on her desk. There was one of her with the human president when she got the job as ambassador. There was another one of her shaking hands with Council Speaker Thexver on her first day. She had been so proud and hopeful then. She thought about Emma Rodriguez, a 6-year-old girl on New Hope who needed special medicine every day to stay alive. The klaxon bugs had destroyed that medicine. Emma might die because aliens thought human lives were not important. She thought about Henry Kim, a 93-year-old man who had survived Earth's climate wars and wanted to see one more sunrise on a new world. The crystal people wanted to force him to travel in space when he was too sick to survive the trip. Lisa had always believed that if humans were just nice enough, patient enough, understanding enough, the aliens would eventually treat them fairly. She had thought that kindness was the strongest weapon humans could use. But kindness only worked when the other side had kindness too. And the aliens did not seem to have any kindness for humans at all. Lisa's door chimed, and Captain Jake Morrison walked in. He took one look at her face and knew something bad had happened. What is it? He asked. Lisa told him everything Paul had said. She watched Jake's face get harder and angrier as she talked. When she finished, Jake was quiet for a long time. Lisa, I have been getting messages from human ships all over the galaxy. Everyone knows what is happening on New Hope. Everyone is angry. The crews want to do something. What kind of something? The kind of something that involves showing the aliens that humans are not as helpless as they think we are. Lisa stood up and walked to the window of her office. Outside, she could see the Nexus Prime station where the Galactic Council met. Ships from dozens of different alien species were docked there. For 3 years, she had walked among those aliens with respect and hope. Now, she wondered if any of them had ever respected her back. Jake, if we start using our military, everything changes. We stop being the nice new species that everyone can trust. We become just another group with big guns. Jake walked over to stand next to her. Lisa, what if being the nice new species is not working? What if the only way to get respect is to show that we deserve respect? That night, Lisa could not sleep. She kept thinking about the children on New Hope. She kept thinking about all the times she had smiled when aliens treated humans badly. She kept thinking about all the promises she had made that never seemed to matter. She got up and walked to her computer. She started writing a new speech for the next council meeting. But this speech was different from all the others. This speech did not have any apologies in it. This speech did not offer any compromises. This speech told the truth about what humans were really thinking. Meanwhile, on ships all across human space, captains and crews were having the same conversations. On the destroyer Vigilant, Commander Ryan Bell was looking at star maps and calculating how fast his ship could reach Kepler 442b if needed. On the battleship Independence, Captain Mary Foster was reading reports about Klaxon and Zephyrian military capabilities. She was surprised to learn that human ships were actually stronger and faster than most alien ships. The aliens had never bothered to study human military power because they thought humans were too weak to be a threat. On Earth itself, Fleet Admiral Patricia Cole was meeting with the President and the military leaders. They were making plans for something they called Operation Courtesy Limit. The plan was simple. If diplomacy failed, human ships would move to protect human people, and they would not ask for permission first. Back on Kepler 442b, Paul Jensen stood outside the New Hope and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, he knew human ships were getting ready to help. For the first time in months, he felt hope, but he also felt something else. He felt the end of an era. Humans had tried to join the galactic community as friends and partners. They had been patient and kind and understanding. They had followed all the rules and respected all the traditions. And in return, aliens had treated them like annoying pets who could be ignored or pushed around whenever it was convenient. Paul thought about little Emma Rodriguez, who was getting sicker every day without her medicine. He thought about old Henry Kim, who just wanted to live long enough to see his new home become safe. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn that human courtesy had limits. And those limits had just been reached. The age of human politeness was about to end. The age of human strength was about to begin. The emergency council meeting was called for the next morning. Ambassador Lisa Carter walked into the great meeting hall, but she was not alone this time. Captain Jake Morrison walked beside her, and behind them came Admiral Susan Hayes, who had flown all the way from Earth just for this meeting. Lisa looked different. Her usual warm smile was gone. Her friendly eyes were cold and hard. She carried herself like a soldier going into battle, not like a diplomat going to make peace. The alien delegates noticed the change right away. They whispered to each other in their strange languages, wondering why the always pleasant human ambassador looked so serious. Council Speaker Vexver was in his usual place at the front of the room. His big bug eyes looked at Lisa with the same bored expression he always had when humans talked. He expected another polite speech about understanding and cooperation. He was about to be very surprised. Lisa walked to the center of the room instead of going to the small human table in the back corner. She stood where everyone could see her clearly. Her voice was loud and clear when she spoke. Honored delegates, for 3 months, humanity has tried to solve the problem of our people on Kepler 442b. Through peaceful talk, we have listened to every complaint. We have agreed to every demand. We have bent over backwards to make everyone happy except our own people. Speaker Vexver started to make his clicking sounds, getting ready to interrupt like he always did. I am not finished, Lisa said in a voice that cut through the room like a sharp knife. The entire council fell silent. Humans never interrupted other speakers. Humans always waited their turn. Humans never raised their voices or spoke with anger, but Lisa was not acting like the old polite human anymore. Yesterday, Klaxon inspection teams destroyed medical equipment. That was keeping human children alive. They poisoned our water supply. They deliberately tried to kill our people. Zephyrian peacekeepers demanded that we move our children's playground to a place that would poison them. When we explained that children would die, They told us to leave faster. Admiral Hayes stepped forward and held up a thick folder of papers. I have here proof of 17 violations of the Galactic Refugee Protection Laws. I have proof of 12 violations of basic humanitarian rules. I have proof of 6 direct attempts to murder human civilians through sabotage. The alien delegates started making worried sounds. They had never seen humans act like this before. They had never seen humans speak with such anger and strength. Quarian, the main Zephyrian crystal being, started making his musical sounds that meant he wanted to speak. The sacred crystals must be protected from. The sacred crystals, Lisa said, her voice getting even harder, can go to hell. We are talking about the lives of 300 people. We are talking about children who are dying while you argue. About the religious importance of rocks. The room exploded in shocked sounds. Clicks, musical notes, gas hisses, and plant rustling filled the air as every alien species expressed their outrage at human rudeness. Several delegates started broadcasting angry messages to their home worlds about human behavior. But Lisa was not done. She had 3 years of anger to let out. For 3 years we have been the galaxy's perfect diplomats. We have smiled when you insulted us. We have apologized when we did nothing wrong. We have given you everything you asked for while you gave us nothing in return. We believed that being kind and patient would earn us respect. Instead, you have treated our kindness as weakness. She turned to look at every alien delegation in the room. We thought that if we were good enough neighbors, you would eventually treat us as equals. But you do not want us to be equals. You want us to be pets that you can order around whenever it is convenient for you. Speaker Thexver finally found his voice. His mandibles clicked angrily as he spoke. The humans forget their place. They are new to this galaxy. They must learn to respect their elders and betters. Lisa laughed, but it was not a nice laugh. It was cold and hard and dangerous. Respect our elders? You mean the elders who destroy medical equipment keeping children alive? You mean the elders who poison water supplies? You mean the elders who treat refugee families like game pieces to be moved around for political convenience? Admiral Hayes stepped forward again. Let me tell you something about respect, Speaker Thexver. Respect is earned, not demanded. And you have not earned anything from humanity except contempt. The Admiral's voice was calm, but there was steel underneath it. Humanity withdraws all compromise offers regarding Kepler 442b. Our people will stay on that planet until they are healthy enough to travel safely. Any attempt to interfere with our humanitarian operations will be considered an act of war. The words act of war hit the council chamber like a bomb. For the first time in galactic history, the polite humans had threatened to fight back. Speaker Thexver's mandibles clicked with what sounded like laughter. The humans think they can threaten us? They have a few small ships and no real military. What can they do against the combined might of the elder races? Admiral Hayes smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. You really have not been paying attention, have you? You have been so busy treating us like harmless pets that you never bothered to learn what we are actually capable of. She activated a holographic display in the center of the room. Images of human ships appeared, rotating slowly so everyone could see them clearly. This is a human destroyer. It carries more firepower than your largest battle cruiser. This is a human frigate. It moves faster than your best interceptors. This is a human dreadnought. It could destroy your entire home fleet by itself. The alien delegates stared at the images in shocked silence. They had never seen detailed information about human military capabilities before. They had assumed that humans were weak because humans acted peaceful. But ships are not the most dangerous thing about humanity, Admiral Hayes continued. The most dangerous thing is that we have been holding back. We have been choosing to be nice. We have been choosing to be diplomatic. We have been choosing to be peaceful. Lisa stepped forward again. Choice is the key word here. We chose to be courteous. We chose to be patient. We chose to be understanding. But we can also choose to stop. She looked directly at Speaker HFY. You have spent 3 years pushing us to see how far you could go. Congratulations, you just found out. The chamber fell completely silent. For the first time since humans had joined the galactic community, the aliens were actually listening to what humans had to say. From this moment forward, Lisa announced, humanity will defend its people and its interests. We will still prefer peace to war. We will still try to solve problems through talking. But we will not sacrifice human lives to make you comfortable anymore. Admiral Hayes added, human fleet units are already moving to defensive positions around all human territories and interests. Any species that threatens human civilians will discover that we are much better at fighting than we are at diplomacy. Speaker HFY tried to regain his authority. This is unacceptable. The Council will not tolerate such threats from a junior member species. Lisa looked at him with cold eyes. Then do not make threats that require responses. Do not poison our water. Do not destroy our medicine. Do not try to kill our children. It is really very simple. She turned to address the entire council one last time. Humanity came to this galaxy hoping to make friends. We wanted to be good neighbors and peaceful partners. We still want that. But we will not be victims anymore. We will not be your convenient scapegoats. We will not sacrifice our people to stroke your egos. The meeting ended in chaos as alien delegates rushed to contact their governments. Emergency sessions were called on dozens of worlds as the elder races tried to figure out how to deal with humans, who were no longer willing to be pushed around. For the first time in galactic history, the humans had said no. And everyone was about to find out what happened when humanity stopped being polite. Within 6 hours of Lisa Carter's speech, the entire galaxy was buzzing with emergency communications. On every alien homeworld, leaders were calling urgent meetings to discuss what they were now calling the human problem. On the bridge of the destroyer Vigilant, Commander Ryan Bell was reading new orders that had just arrived from Earth. His communications officer, Lieutenant Amy Foster, looked up from her console with wide eyes. Sir, we are getting the same reports from every human ship in the fleet. The Admiral's speech has been broadcast to every human colony. People are celebrating in the streets. Ryan looked at his orders again. They were signed by Fleet Admiral Patricia Cole herself, and they were unlike anything he had ever seen before. All human vessels are to assume defensive positions around human territories and colonies. Any interference with humanitarian operations or threats to human civilians will be met with immediate and overwhelming force. Rules of engagement are now weapons-free for any hostile actions against human interests. Ryan's tactical officer, Lieutenant Bob Martinez, whistled softly. Sir, weapons-free? That means we can shoot first if we think humans are in danger. That is exactly what it means, Ryan said. And I think we are about to find out how much the aliens really know about human military capabilities. On the flagship of the Klaxon fleet, Speaker HFY was having a very different kind of meeting. His military advisors were showing him intelligence reports about human ships, and the news was not good. War Leader Kexta clicked his mandibles nervously as he spoke. Speaker, we have made a serious mistake. The human destroyers are not just transport ships with a few guns. They are real warships with more firepower than our battle cruisers. Their frigates move twice as fast as our interceptors. And we just found out they have something called dreadnoughts that we have never seen before. HFY's compound eyes focused on the tactical displays. How is this possible? The humans have always seemed so weak and peaceful. That is exactly the problem, Speaker. We assumed they were weak because they were peaceful. We never considered that they might be peaceful because they were strong. Similar conversations were happening on Zephyrian crystal ships throughout the galaxy. The crystal beings were discovering that their own military technology was hundreds of years behind what humans had developed in just the past few decades. Master Crystal Quarian was meeting with his War Harmonics Council, and the music they were making together was full of worried notes. "The humans have been studying our capabilities for 3 years," sang War Harmonic Prexala, "but we never studied theirs. We thought they were too primitive to be worth analyzing. What do we know about their actual strength?" Quarian resonated. "Their smallest warships carry weapons that could crack our largest crystal formations. Their defensive shields use technology we do not understand. And they have been building more ships every month for 3 years, while we have been treating them like harmless pets." On Earth, Fleet Admiral Patricia Cole was coordinating the largest military movement in human history. Operation Courtesy Limit was now fully active, and human ships were moving to defensive positions throughout the galaxy. But the most important conversation was happening at the Galactic Research Institute, where Dr. Rachel Murphy had been trying to warn people about this exact situation for months. Dr. Murphy was a xenobiologist who specialized in studying how different species evolved. She had been telling anyone who would listen that the aliens were making a dangerous mistake about humans. "You have all been treating humans like they evolved in a peaceful environment," she explained to her ethereal colleague, Whisper in Stars. "But Earth is what we call a death world. It is a planet where everything tries to kill everything else all the time." Whisper in Stars formed into a shape that indicated confusion. "But humans seem so peaceful and cooperative." "That is because they survived their death world by learning to cooperate with each other. But they also survived by becoming very, very good at fighting. Every human you see is the descendant of creatures that won an evolutionary war against thousands of other species." Dr. Murphy pulled up holographic displays showing Earth's history. "Look at these extinction events. 99% of all species that ever lived on Earth are dead. Humans are part of the 1% that survived everything the planet could throw at them. The ice ages, the volcanic eruptions, the asteroid impacts, the climate changes, the predators, the diseases, the competition for resources. Humans survived all of it. And then they became the most dangerous predators on their own planet." Whisper in Stars began to understand. "You are saying that human politeness is not natural behavior. Human politeness is learned behavior. It is a choice they make because they are smart enough to know that cooperation works better than fighting. But the fighting skills are still there, just waiting to be used." Meanwhile, on Kepler 442b, everything was changing very quickly. Colony leader Paul Jensen was standing outside the New Hope, watching 3 human destroyers take up positions in orbit around the planet. For the first time in months, the Klaxon war parties had stopped their inspections. The Zephyrian cultural advisors had stopped making demands about moving the playground. Suddenly, all the aliens who had been so eager to push humans around were nowhere to be seen. Sergeant Tony Martinez from the destroyer Vigilant had landed with a team of Marines to provide security for the colony. He introduced himself to the Klaxon war leader with the kind of smile that suggested he was looking forward to any excuse to demonstrate human military courtesy. "Good morning," Tony said politely to the bug-like alien. "I am here to make sure our humanitarian operations continue without any more accidents. I hope we can all be friends." The Klaxon war leader looked at Tony's weapons and armor and decided that being friends sounded like a very good idea. Back in the council chambers on Nexus Prime, emergency sessions were being called every few hours as alien species tried to figure out how to respond to the new situation. The problem was that none of them had ever dealt with humans who were not being polite. For 3 years, they had grown comfortable with the idea that humans would always give in, always compromise, always choose peace over conflict. Now they were discovering that human peace had always been conditional. It depended on other species acting reasonably. When other species stopped being reasonable, humans stopped being peaceful. Speaker Vexver called an emergency meeting of the Klaxon High Command. We need to decide how to respond to human aggression. War Leader Kexta made clicking sounds of disagreement. Speaker, with respect, the humans have not been aggressive. They have been reactive. We poisoned their water and destroyed their medicine. They responded by positioning ships to protect their people. That is not aggression. That is defense. Are you saying we should back down? I am saying we should think very carefully about what happens if we do not back down. The humans have more ships, better weapons, and faster vessels than we do. But more importantly, they have something we do not have. What is that? They have experience fighting wars on a death world. We have been the dominant species in our region of space for so long that we have forgotten how to fight a real war. The humans never forgot. All across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place. The elder races were slowly realizing that they had made a fundamental mistake about humanity. They had confused human choice to be peaceful with human inability to be dangerous. The humans had tried for 3 years to fit into galactic society as junior partners. They had been patient and understanding and willing to compromise on everything except the safety of their own people. But when alien species had threatened human lives, humanity had shown its true nature. They were not helpless refugees begging for acceptance. They were a dangerous species that had been choosing to be nice, and now they had chosen to stop. 2 weeks after what the alien news networks were calling the human ultimatum, the Galactic Council was meeting again. But this time, everything was different. Ambassador Lisa Carter walked into the council chambers with the same team as before. Captain Jake Morrison was at her side, and Admiral Susan Hayes walked behind them. But now there was also General Frank Thompson, representing Earth's military forces. The message was clear without anyone having to say it out loud. The alien delegates were already in their seats, but they looked nervous in a way they had never looked before. For the first time in galactic history, they were not sure they were in control of the situation. Speaker Vexver approached the human delegation, but his usual arrogant clicking was gone. His mandibles moved in the careful patterns that meant respect among his people. Ambassador Carter, he began in a much more formal tone than he had ever used before. The Klaxon Hive wishes to offer sincere apologies for any misunderstandings regarding the humanitarian situation on Kepler 442b. We have removed all inspection teams from the area and formally recognize the human colony's right to complete their repairs without any interference. Lisa nodded politely, accepting the apology without gloating about her victory. The Klaxon Hive's understanding is appreciated, Speaker Vexver. Humanity has always valued peaceful relationships with all species. But everyone in the room could hear the unspoken part of that statement, as long as those relationships are built on mutual respect. Quarian's crystalline form made soft musical notes that were much quieter than his usual proud harmonies. The Zephyrian collective also extends its regrets for any cultural confusion. After further meditation, we have determined that the crystal formations on Kepler 442b are not as sacred as we initially believed. The human children may continue to use their playground without relocating. General Thompson stepped forward. The Galactic Council's renewed commitment to humanitarian law is noted and appreciated. Human military forces will maintain their current defensive positions until all threats to human civilians have been resolved. Over the following weeks, the changes in galactic politics became impossible to ignore. Suddenly, every alien species seemed much more interested in what humans had to say. Trade negotiations that had been dragging on for months were resolved in days. Research projects that had excluded human scientists were suddenly sending invitations for collaboration. Cultural events that had treated human Participation as optional novelty were now actively recruiting human attendees. On the battleship Independence, Captain Mary Foster was reviewing reports from across human space. She smiled as she read them to her senior staff. The Outer Rim territorial disputes have been resolved faster than anyone thought possible. Apparently, when species know there are real consequences for unreasonable behavior, they become much more willing to find fair solutions. Her aide, Commander Beth Lewis, looked up from her own reports. The discrimination complaints from human colonies have dropped by 90%. It seems that when aliens have to worry about human military responses, they suddenly remember how to treat human civilians with basic respect. But the most important changes were happening in the everyday interactions between humans and other species. Human merchants were no longer being cheated in trade deals. Human students were no longer being excluded from advanced programs. Human diplomats were no longer being ignored in meetings. Ambassador Carter, now working from a much larger office on Nexus Prime, reflected on the transformation during a private conversation with Captain Morrison. It is remarkable how much more reasonable everyone became once they realized our politeness was a choice, not a weakness, she said. Jake nodded as he looked out the window at the busy docking bays. Look at that. Ships from 20 different species, all working together, all treating each other fairly. It only took the threat of actual consequences to make it happen. But the real test came 6 months later, when a new crisis erupted in the Gamma sector. A young species called the Novari had just achieved faster-than-light travel, and were asking to join the galactic community. The elder races were treating them the same way they had originally treated humans, with condescension and impossible demands. The Novari were small furry creatures who looked harmless and spoke in soft, squeaky voices. They were clearly intelligent and peaceful, but they had limited military technology and no experience with galactic politics. The Klaxon and Zephyrians were already making territorial demands on Novari space. Other species were offering protection in exchange for exclusive trade rights. It was the same pattern of exploitation that humans had faced, but this time humanity was in a position to do something about it. Ambassador Carter called for an emergency council session. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority that came from representing a species that other races now took seriously. The Galactic Council has an opportunity to welcome a new member species the right way, she announced. The Novari have asked for membership, and humanity supports their application without conditions or demands. Speaker Thexver started to object. The Novari occupy space that has strategic value for established shipping routes. Surely some accommodation can be reached for mutual benefit. Lisa's response was calm but firm. The Novari space belongs to the Novari. Any species that attempts to take advantage of their inexperience with galactic politics will find themselves dealing with humanity as well. The message was clear. Humans would not stand by and watch another young species be bullied the way they had been bullied. Quarion made harmonious sounds of agreement. The Zephyrian Collective supports the human position. Young species should be guided, not exploited. Over the following months, the Novari integration into galactic society went smoothly. They were treated with respect, given fair trade deals, and allowed to develop at their own pace. Several alien species even volunteered to help them improve their technology and learn galactic customs. The difference was that this time, there was a powerful protector making sure the help was actually helpful and not exploitative. Dr. Rachel Murphy, watching these developments from her research station, sent a report to the Galactic Anthropological Society that would become required reading for anyone studying interspecies relations. The human integration crisis taught the galaxy an important lesson about the difference between strength and aggression, she wrote. Humans demonstrated that it is possible to be both civilized and powerful, both peaceful and prepared for war. More importantly, they showed that true respect cannot be demanded or assumed. It must be earned through consistent fair treatment of all parties, regardless of their military capabilities or political experience. A year after the crisis began, Ambassador Carter stood in the same council chambers where she had once been ignored and dismissed. Now when she spoke, everyone listened. When humans made proposals, they were seriously considered. When human interests were threatened, the galaxy responded quickly to address the problems, but perhaps the most significant change was in how newer species were treated. The Novari had been followed by 3 other young civilizations, and each one was welcomed with respect and fairness. The days of exploiting inexperienced species were over, because everyone knew that humanity would not tolerate it. Captain Morrison, now promoted to Admiral, often thought about the lessons they had all learned. We spent 3 years trying to earn respect through endless patience and compromise. It turned out that respect was always there, waiting for us. We just had to stop being afraid to demand it. The galaxy had learned something important too. Courtesy and kindness were valuable qualities, but they only worked when they were mutual. When one side took advantage of another's good nature, the result was not peace, but exploitation. True peace came from strength, tempered by wisdom, power balanced by restraint, and the knowledge that cooperation was always preferable to conflict. But that conflict remained an option when cooperation failed. The day the Council realized humanity had limits to its courtesy was the day the galaxy finally grew up. And everyone, even the humans, was better for it.